BarTalks. Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. Talk to me now.
Hey, welcome back to BarTalks. We're here for part 2 of our Man Talk discussion. I want to move the conversation and talking about fathers and the role of the black man as a father. Bill Clinton had a great quote. As you know, he's one of the former presidents that we had in the United States. He said the single biggest social problem in our society may be the growing number of absence of the father from children's homes, because it contributes to so many other social problems like poverty, there's behavioral problems, there's obesity, crime, sexual activity, drug and alcohol abuse. I want to give each panelist about 2 minutes for the sake of time. We got so much to cover. I want to give you 2 minutes to just tackle this topic of the role of the black man as a father, and what role do you think is playing in the new paradigm shift that we're seeing in the youth that's coming up today?
Well, I guess I'll take a stab at it. My view is family is very important. And what I've gathered from society, how society has been functioning as of lately, is that it's become more individualistic. And the reason why I say that is that it appears as if women will think they can do it on their own, and men think they can do it on their own. And in some people's eyes, people think men are right, some people think women are right. But I honestly feel both parties are wrong. Both parties need to work together to make it happen for each other and their families. And I can say that from experience because I'm divorced. I have two girls. My wife now, we have a kid together too, so it's 3 kids all involved. And we sacrifice for whatever we need to make our families stick together through thick and thin. And I honestly feel as though there are too many other things that are going on that are making it to make it appear as if divorce is an easy option, when divorce should never be an option. So that's where I'm coming from.
I think that, you know, in alignment with what you stated, a quote from Bill Clinton, and how fatherhood and the lack of fatherhood affects the social problem, is very much in alignment with, you know, the saying that strong families build strong communities. My take is that the role of fathers in enhancing and becoming more solution oriented is actually to, in a sense, take on more families. And here's what I mean by that. There's a difference between being a father and there's a difference between fathering. You don't have to be a father to actually to be fathering to a community, to a people, or to an individual. Fathers beget fathers, and I think that the more men see other men being a father to their community, being a father to groups of people they work with, it actually will encourage more men to father. In short and sweet, we're part of a fraternity, Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated, and one of the things that amazes me is that, you know, we have a group of guys that literally a lot of us are fathers, and but what's greater than that is we cultivate and encourage positive action among ourselves and among our community, whether it's through our mentorship programs, whether it's us giving back to the school, which actually encourages other guys to kind of want to be a part of that platform. It's that positive momentum going. Some of these guys don't even have kids, but because of this positive culture of fatherhood, they're bringing kids into fold and are part of this. And I think that, you know, one of the biggest systemic issues is we don't highlight enough of what's being done right and what's being done good. So society, in a sense, will always paint a negative picture. But it's up to us to kind of highlight these positive things and keep doing these positive things on a broader scale within our communities, within our homes. But again, fathers beget fathers. And so you don't have to be a father to father someone.
That's good.
I think one thing I was going to say is that it's just like back in the 60s when a lot of this issue sort of started in terms of devaluing, it started way back before then, but I would say in modern times, devaluing the fathers probably started in the 60s when the government programs came about whereby if there was a man in the house, the family wouldn't receive any assistance. I think we need to be a little more modern about it and say that if there's a man in the house, he's the father of these children, try to come up with some way to help the family unit, even if the father is there. You know, help everybody. Just don't say, well, the check goes to the woman and then the man can't, you know, because that creates friction. It creates relationship problems and a whole bunch of other issues. And I think that if the government, because really the government has been kind of like an enabler to a lot of these problems that we see, you know. So instead of being enablers, if I had something to do with it, I would probably try to bring the mother and father together in some kind of way, give them some type of equal, some kind of, I don't know, it's hard to say, maybe the policymakers have to do that, but I would like to see two people being involved in the family, and I would not penalize the family because the man is present. I would make it so they both can share into whatever it is, you know, because a lot of, and what it does too is that it makes one person sort of not aggressive in terms of, oh, if I do this, I'm not going to be able to get this check or something like that. So I think we need to not penalize people for going out working and trying to improve themselves through that government check that they get. So that's what I would, if I had something to do, I would try to work that.
Okay. We have new panelists that joined us. You want to introduce yourself to the panelists?
My name is Marcian Gibson. I'm a Woodbridge resident, father of three, father of two sons, and then one adopted niece. From my perspective, I think the father, just like the other panel members were stating, that it is a key element of the family, along with the mother. But I can only speak from my personal experience that I adopted my niece because a family member did not want to fulfill that father role. So when I picked this young lady up, she was emotionally scarred because she was not receiving that love or that nurturing or that father figure to kind of tell her that, hey, I love you, you know, put her on your lap, you know, take her places, and just kind of keep the boogeyman away from me, if you will. So as she grew to become a young lady and our bond and our relationship tied, I really understood, not from my sons, but more so probably from her, the importance of fathers in a young lady's life. I thought that was a big difference between her going one way or going another way, which might have not been that positive. Just reminded her that, hey, you know, whatever is happening, you know, you can talk to me, and should be able to kind of help her, not figure out a problem for her, but to guide her. So I can only speak from my perspective. As far as the social ills, I think we all have grown up with someone that did not have a father, and you saw some of the consequences, either financially or emotionally or just academically. You know, you might not be a professor, but at least if you take the time with that individual or come up with someone that can either tutor him or her, I think that's an important factor. A mother can do that as well, but I just think as far as having someone that know that they're sitting there at their home, they're going to provide security, and no matter what, if something happened within the family, that person is going to take charge and see the family through whatever difficulty they may be coming from.
Derek, can I just make one little comment on this? I know I found out that it's important too, even if it's just important to have the man in the room, you know. I mean, even if he's not busy in the kitchen and doing all the little intricacies that the mother does and everything, just having the man in the room, and if something needs to be dealt with, because I remember when I was coming up in a certain instance and everything, I was living with my stepmother, but I remember my stepmother used to say, well, if such and such and such you don't do, when your dad comes home, you know, what's going to happen, you know. So I meant just to know that when someone comes, if you didn't do what you're supposed to do, just knowing that when someone comes home what may happen to you, you'd be surprised how that have an effect, you know, especially as a young kid growing up. So I just think that knowing that there's somebody to bounce things off of, and because I've noticed that sometimes females, especially when they're bringing up, when they have sons and everything, they tend to, well, sometimes the females tend to be overly protective of the son, and it seemed like this may be oversimplification, but the love or the emotional or whatever it is that you might have for a husband or for a significant other, if that person is not around, sometimes, I mean, subconsciously they put too much into the son. You know, to get him the shoes, get him to this, to get him to that. I mean, some of these guys, I see they got more stuff than I got, and the women, the feet, you know, the mothers got them all these clothes and all that. They looking all, and you know, driving cars and everything, and the mothers are getting them. And I just said, wait a minute, you know. So I'm just saying that sometimes it's good to have a man around who can kind of put the brakes on things. You know what I mean? So I don't want to. But
that's good. But and I want to give you my concept of a father, because growing up, you know, my father was, I mean, he was around, but he was out of town. He was long distance, and you know, he was in and out of the system. You know, so I would have to write him and do things like that. But I became a product of my community. I mean, it was many men that was in and out of my life, and I drew the positive traits from all of those men. You know, I remember clearly when I got married almost 16 years ago, that me and my wife went to a marriage retreat. And the first question they asked, what was your concept of the family? What was your family concept? Who in your neighborhood did you see how to be a dad and how to be a husband and wife? And I looked around the neighborhood that I grew up with, and every kid that was in my neighborhood, we were all in the same the culture set where, you know, 16-story high-rise building, none of us had a mom and dad in the house. So as I began to think, and I said, well, the only concept I had was on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock. Y'all know what used to come on Thursday nights at 8 o'clock? It was the Cosby Show. We showed up like clockwork, and we was in front, and we saw what Clary Cliff Huxtable gave us a whole new concept and a new idea of what fatherhood. And, you know, I developed my concepts from what the wholesome shows that we got on. Now you begin to see the content on television and change, and how it's impacting our youth because of what they're taking in. And so fathers now are no longer thinking they have to be the foundation, but they got to be the head. Now when you look at a building, and if your roof ever gets damaged, all you do is call somebody to come in and patch the roof up, and the roof get repaired. If the windows get cracked or broken in your house, all you do is call somebody to replace the windows. But if the foundation in the house is broke, can't nobody stay in the house. If the foundation is broken, the whole building is marked condemned. Y'all remember we had an earthquake a couple years ago, and the monument was shut down for years until they was able to fix, all because there was a crack in the foundation, and an elevator could mess up, all of that. And so that's what's happening to the black man. The foundation of the father has been pulled out of the house. His concept, he doesn't know how to run. Women are dominating in the household now because they're making more money, they're doing this and that. And so the man's like, where's my role? It's like, I don't need you, I can raise this kid on my own. And so,
Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. Talk to me now. Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. Tell me what's on your mind, baby. This time. BarTalks.